I recently saw some videos on YouTube on making your own macrame plant hangers, so I decided to make my own. And I made this hanging planter with three long extensions. You know, sometimes you have four, like for like a holder versus three macrame cords coming down, all twisted and tied. And the link is below in the description. And then I made this wall-mounted hanger, and I went ahead to Walmart and found a nice pot that matched. I think a bromeliad would look nice in that one. Then I made this other one, and it turned out to be really small. And for these three, I used this cord, which is sold by Michaels as Macrame cord. Then you have this other cord too that I have yet to use. And I bought some jute cording because it's a little thicker than this cheap twine that I got from Walmart. So anyway, with the twine, I'll show you what I made in a moment. So I also have a link to how to make this one below from the video I watched. And, you know, I modeled some based on what I saw on YouTube before designing my own. This one ended up being smaller than I anticipated. Fortunately, I had a pot I could squeeze in there. And, you know, you just mount it like that directly on the wall. This one here is my original design. I used a key ring, and then I went ahead and did like a little loop knot and then put a bunch of square knots, and then I just went down each one with a square knot. I like to put like a little tag and label on things sometimes. And then I made some small square knots and square knots and put a bigger one here versus the side, so it's almost like polarized. Because as you see, the way it hangs, this would be the front. And this is just a votive candle jar or a cup that you can get from any craft store. And then I made square knots where I alternated a little bit, then I made them separately, extended, tied a knot, and frayed out the edge. So this one here is my own design. Of course, it's very tiny, but I want to make some more. And what's interesting is you can see these hangers if you go on Etsy or even maybe some videos on YouTube. Oops. But it's nice how this cradles in, and I didn't even use a wrapping knot on this one, which is nice. But where you make them stacked, and that's one thing that I want to do. So here we have a 2-inch metal ring. You can get these from like the section in craft stores where you basically work with leather. Most people use the wooden rings. They cost a little less, but I always worry about the weight of the plant breaking along the grain of the wood. So I feel like this is safer versus having your plant all of a sudden just collapse and crash on the ground. You have 1-inch rings. You have a D-ring, so when you're making something small, you know, you can put loops and they can be horizontal at the top. And then the key ring like the one I used with that little votive glass cup. Now, my next project is going to be a little interesting. So if you look at the one I made, and the terracotta jar won't fit because I did base it based on the glass cup. So the glass cup fits in there nicely, if I can get it in there. It's tricky doing this with the camera in front. Anyway, but for a moment, let me show you. So here are the two jars, and it's kind of unusual that it won't fit, except that this one extends down a little more. So, needless to say, this type of jars, what this one is designed for, and it won't accommodate the terracotta ones as easily. So I'm going to make one for the terracotta ones. So here are a few small terracotta pots and trays that I got. And I want to make actually a stack of 3. So without that one, and probably just keep one of the trays, what I'm going to do is have them hanging 1, 2, 3 with the tray underneath to collect the water, so then I can water at the top and here, and if anything drips it goes to the plant below, etc. So let us get started on this project and we'll see how it happens. So I put a little hook on a piece of cardboard, and I'm actually going to be using the 1-inch ring with the jute cord because this light brown shade versus the twine, will look better with the clay, and it's a little thicker, which will look nicer. One thing to note is this is about a foot long, and I started out with 54 inches that I folded over. So then I had 6 cords, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 cords that I did that with. So for this project, because I'm going to stack it up, I'm going to have them to be about 3 times as long, just to be on the safe side. And here I have 3 like that. I don't know if I should do 3 or 4, branches. I think I'm just going to keep it at 3 because I kind of like this. It gives it perspective and gives you, one side is definitely the front. So this jute twine is very messy. It leaves all these particles and everything, which gets on your clothes, on chairs, on everything. But anyway, I used 200-inch sections just to be on the safe side, and I looped them around. Now, I'm not going to show you how to do all the knots. I'm assuming that the person watching this video, aka you, has already tried macrame and already knows how to do these knots. So this is not a how to do something video, but more a how I did this video. So next I'm going to go ahead and put a few square knots. So I went across 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3 square knots, then 2, then 3, then 2. I just alternated until I got a length I liked. And now I'm going to just run square knots down here, down there, and down there until I get a length that I like as well. So I went down a decent length, and this one, it doesn't look just right. I already unwound it and re-tightened in case I missed something, but it still doesn't look quite right, but I'm not going to worry about it. Actually, it might be okay. Sometimes, if you tighten one knot tighter than the other, but you can see all this lint from the jute. It's very messy to work with. I'm going to have to start vacuuming when I'm done. So now comparing that to this, the fact that this was thinner, it actually, is much smaller. So it makes it interesting because these will be, I'll have to figure out a good height. With this one, I have, I measured the length of the tape measure to tighten 2 square knots versus just 1 at 3 nodes. And I'm deciding if I want to make it a little shorter or longer, or just start it from here, or make this longer all the way to the bottom. I'll probably just have some cordage like I do here and make it about, instead of 3 times as long, maybe twice as long as that, or once as long. I'll see. I ended up measuring with a tape measure 2 inches to the top, from the bottom of this square knot to the top of that one, and going down here, and you can always pull this to be tight, and if you need to. But now that I have 2 square knots here, 2 here, 2 here, I can go ahead and fold these over, so then this will be like that, and that will be in the back, and this will twist. Sometimes I wonder if I should have done half squares here, so this one twists that way, that one twists that way, but that's something that you can do if you wanted to. Okay, so I have to show you this step. So from these 3 nodes, I extended 2 inches and made a nice long segment, and then from the back it's a little shorter, but not by much. I made, I connected those two, and those two, so that I have those. And now what I'm going to do is connect some shorter pieces. These are about 2 inches, here 1 inch, from here to here, to there, to there. And then we'll see how it meshes with the pot. So I got this in the front, tested the pot. It's a tight fit. I did loosen this one a little bit, the one that's in the back, just so I can make sure it's in there, and these three are about the same height up. And now what I'll have to do is measure the base of the pot so I can get some conjoined there. And that's how this will hang. So I'm going to go ahead, actually, on second thought, because I'm doing multiple ones, I'm not going to do that just yet. But now I have to rig a method or devise a method to go down and make it symmetrical with the top portion, and how far down I want to add another pot. I also have to consider the length of cord I have left. So here we have the top one, and moving up, I put a knot about 3 inches down from this one here, and then I put another knot, and then replicated the knotting sequence that I did here. So you see here is about 3/4 of an inch, an inch, inch, and that seemed to do the trick to get this size pots. So I have enough cordage for possibly 2 more. So I'm going to go ahead and work on this, and we'll see the results. So I have 1, 2, 3, and 4. I have just enough to make a 5th, but not enough to finish the bottom of it. So I'm going to go ahead and rig it up to put the tray. So this saucer is about 3 inches in diameter. I hate how the sticker labels they put on just bleeds into the porousness of the clay. I need to figure out an easy way to remove it, because some of these pots have them on the side and it's annoying. So anyway, what I did was about a couple inches down, I made 3 pairs of square knots. Then I made some alternating another couple inches down. So then the tray will go inside, and it will be between both knots. And then these ones at the bottom, I'm actually going to link them down and make a tassel. And let me show you guys. I'm actually going to link them down and make a tassel coming down, similar to this one over here where I did that, and then these split. And this way I don't have to worry about a wrapping knot, because those can sometimes come undone if they're not done tight enough. So it's the morning, Christmas Day of 2020. It was getting really late last night, and I had to release a weather balloon, so I'm now going to finish it, even though I was almost done yesterday. So we have the water tray at the bottom, and I ran like a couple square knots, then alternated, square knots, alternated. So you know where I'd then be alternating this way. And now what I'm going to do is just run a nice long swath of square knots. So, not square knots. So then these will fan out versus continue as a long tube. You know, maybe with these square knots or like that, if you make it big enough, you can do like those little Macrame Chinese handcuff type things, if you've seen those out of like straw or something. Anyway, so let me get that portion taken care of, and we'll see how it looks. So I went ahead and ran a bunch of square knots down. Now, for this one, I extended it, tied the knot, and then frayed the ends. On here, I think I'm just going to tie a knot here and start to fray as long as I can. This is a short piece, whereas I have some that extend a lot longer. It's just depending on, you know, I did a lot more knots on the front end, so that's why. But it will be interesting to see how this turns out. I realized that tying knots at the top would make it look tacky and bulky and everything, so I just frayed it from the last square knot. And it kind of looks nice, almost like a poodly hair, you know? So if you like little poofy dogs, you'd probably enjoy this, and I'm sure if you have a cat, it would probably like playing with this. But if you don't have any pets like me, you don't have to worry. So anyway, let me go ahead, string this up, and we'll look at the final result with pots inside. So here is the finished product. Now, one thing is, I feel like this pot looks a little tacky that close to the tray versus the nicely spaced out pots. But you want to make sure as you water, it's not going to drip and splatter, so this way it minimizes any splatter. As far as mounting it goes, hanging it on a door is impractical. Now, I recently purchased this Betty lamp hook by prominent North Carolina blacksmith Jerry Darnell, but to spike it in the wall and hang it would be impractical unless you can find a stud and you don't mind a gash. So you can always get some small hooks and mount it that way. Let me see if I can demonstrate that it would be far enough from the wall. So I have it on the hook, and if I put it there, and you don't want it on a door, but you can even put a bigger hook to be further away. Anyway, this is a great simple project. You can plant your succulents or small varieties of peperomia, or anything else, fake plants if you want to. I don't like fake plants though. So these are some of the things you can do with this multi-tiered Macrame plant hanger. I had the cardboard leaning against my office chair. You can see where I had it, and then it would lean against the back. And now I have all this accumulation of fibers that came off the jute twine. So that's the jute cord or twine. It's just a little messy. It looks nice with the terracotta, but it's a little messy. Anyway, it's time to clean up. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and happy planting.